Yo, this is KaeDee,
And this is David.
and we are the KaeDee Exchange, where we exchange music, and as a result, we exchange ideas, bridging the gap between old and new, with all original music produced by. Enjoy. Yo, welcome back to the KaeDee Exchange. I am your host, KaeDee, alongside my host, my friend, and music aficionado, David. Yeah, you know what it is. You know what it is. But yeah, so we're back. This is episode 2. David, how are you?
I am very well, man. Top of the world. How about yourself?
Great. Okay. We've had our first cut out, but that's fine. we can live with that. What did you say after top of the world?
I said I'm all good. How are you?
Okay, great. So I would have just continued going. I'm all good as well. I haven't really organized my time properly, but I made it, so it's fine. I'm here. So if we need a recap of, if you've listened to the last episode, then you know what we're about, I hope. We didn't kind of nerd out too much, but you know what we're about, you know what we're trying to do here. So basically, we will be exchanging albums to each other each episode. And the idea is to kind of create these conversations that may not normally have happened, kind of bridging the gap between genre, between taste, between age, between mentality, etc., and as well as exposing us to different types of music, because that's what we're here for. We love the music. Music is the universal language, as we said last time, and it's something we can't really get enough of, and we can't really find anything that matches the power of it. So the more the better, and the more variety, which is the spice of life, the better. So we're going to start with our first segment, which is each episode we're going to start off by picking our artist of the week, or song of the week. So this is like an artist that we're feeling. Maybe we've just been playing a lot. Maybe it's someone new, whatever. Or it can be a song that we're really, really into, and we're going to explain maybe just really briefly why and who that is or what the song is. And we're probably going to be creating a Spotify playlist, a Deezer playlist, potentially Apple Music playlist. We'll see how much time your boys have, but we have we'll do that.
And girls.
And yeah. I meant your boys as in me and you. We, when they say your boy this, your boy that. So this is what I mean by bridging the gap between age and.
Yeah, because not all of us have milk around our mouths. You.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. See, I don't even know if that's.
We're just going in. It's just like that. Okay, cool. All right, then, you smart ass.
All right, so David. Well, okay. I'm gonna show some respect here. David, would you like to go first?
Nah, screw you, man.
Yeah,
go first.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay, I'll do that gladly. Okay, so my artist of the week is a bit of an acquired taste within hip hop. I mean, even if you're into hip hop, I think he's a bit of an acquired taste. He is, I don't know if you know him, David. Do you know Rock Marciano? No,
man.
Yeah. So I think he was part of, or he was affiliated with, I'm not sure. I haven't done my research fully, but he was affiliated with Busta Rhymes back in the day, and the whole Flip Mode squad and stuff. He has this new kind of wave that he's on. So he's kind of an old school artist, but he's a bit like Pusha T and like Run the Jewels, where he's reinvented himself for the newer age. His music is kind of different from what it was before. At least it sounds aesthetically different, and it might be a bit difficult for. What did I say? Acquired taste. Yeah, It's a bit of an acquired taste because it's not the kind of music you go for if you want any bounce, if you want any kind of knock. in the beats. It's a lot of his production is a lot of soul sample loops and him just kind of rhyming over the top. And the thing is, his voice is kind of monotone-ish, but I really like his voice. I like the texture of his voice. I like the way he sounds. And actually, if you watch an interview, he sounds the way he raps. And what's cool about it is that when I first heard it, I thought, yeah, this is cool. This is, you know, when we come across different types of music or different types of hip hop, especially, and you just think, wow, I've never heard of this before. I didn't even know this could exist. You know, I thought it was all gangster rap, or I thought it was all this kind of rap. That was the same with Rock Marciano. And it really grew on me over time. And recently I've just been playing his albums because that's just what I've been in the mood for. What I call it is kind of chilled, laid back gangster rap, where he's just very slick. He's funny, but he just raps in this kind of monotone, almost like he's talking, but it happens to rhyme. But what's deeper than that is that it gives me kind of MF Doom type vibes. Someone like that, where if you actually sat down and fully listened to what he's saying, not just how it sounds aesthetically, he's still rhyming quite technically, you know, internal rhymes and the end rhymes and multi-syllable rhymes and stuff like that. And we all know people like Eminem for that, and Kendrick and Lupe Fiasco and Royce da 5'9" for this kind of stuff. This guy sounds like he's just sitting there talking to you. And it all happens to fall into place like that. And you don't pick that up until a bit later. It's so smooth when he's over these weird soul beats. Like he's a traditional crate digger who's gone through the crates, got some beautiful like soul loops and some weird ones as well. And he just talks over the top, and his kind of his pet talks or whatever he's giving you, the kind of coke raps, you know, the Kingpin vibes. The Kingpin speeches just all happen to rhyme. That's how it is. And he would be my artist of the week. He has a lot of albums, he has a lot of material. And for some reason recently, it's just really, really clicked for me. And I would give, if I had to give a song, I'd give the song, there's a song called Congo off the album Behold a Dark Horse. And it's called Behold a Dark Horse. I only found this out the other day because he didn't do any promotion behind that album. He just dropped it out of nowhere. And it's like he's coming through like the Dark Horse. And it was one of he dropped 3 albums that year. Each one with different producers and stuff like that. So they all had their own vibe. And this one was like just out of nowhere towards the end of the year, I think. And it's kind of one of those things, you know, behold the Dark Horse. And he's just swooped in and just dropped his best work. He's already dropped 2 albums before that. That's amazing. The kind of vibe he was going with. Yeah, he has that kind of slick mentality. It's not for everyone. Again, even for me, it was a bit of a slow burner. But yeah, my artist of the week, Rock Marciano. Be surprised if it's not the type of music I'm like banging out in the car when there's people around. It's not built like that. But yeah, for hip hop heads, I'd say, especially if you're into people like MF Doom and Car, especially him and Car sounds like, you know, very alike. Who else? I can't think of any examples. I mean, he's really in his own lane like that. So yeah, for the hip hop heads out there, Rock Marciano. Why am I struggling to say that? Rock Marciano is your guy.
Cool, man. Yeah. No, I like that. Sounds awesome. I actually wrote it down, and okay? Yeah, I'm gonna go and check him out.
Sick.
My one is, I'm gonna be short and sweet. My one is Joey Badass, and his tune called Shine.
Shine. Yeah.
Oh. Like,
yeah.
The thing that I like about it, it's smooth, it's easy, it's like a really nice window into the kind of hip hop that he can do. And Joey Badass is somebody that I think is really, he gets a lot of plaudits, like a lot of people like him, but I also think like they should, because he's an excellent rapper. And he's somebody that manages to make beats that are like perfectly suited to my taste. And this song in particular just lends itself to me. Like, I was listening to it when I was making barbecues last year, so it's just that kind of nice, easy summertime vibe. Just listen to what he's saying and enjoy.
Do you know what I can't remember the name of the original sample that he uses. I can see the album cover.
It's oh my gosh, oh my god, I know the song as well.
Yeah,
I listened to it
Everybody
yesterday.
Loves the Sun. Yeah, Everybody Loves the Sunshine, right?
Yeah, the original song is amazing as well.
Yeah.
in itself, it's brilliant.
Yeah, that's great, like kind of cookout kind of music as well.
For real.
It translates well, and I think Dr. Dre sampled that. Or maybe I'm just confusing it with the Straight Outta Compton movie when they introduced Dre's character. He's listening to that song.
I haven't watched that film.
Oh, David, why are we doing this podcast? Why?
Well, do you know what? Like, it's I don't know why. I just avoided that. I don't know why.
Nah, normally it's not the standard hip hop film. This is I'm telling you, when you can get a non-hip hop fan to watch the 3-hour extended cut or whatever it is, and they tell you to shut up because you're making too much noise, because I'd seen it like 3 times at this point, and they're fully hooked when at the beginning they didn't even want to watch it, and they're talking about it the next day, then yeah, it's not even just as a hip hop film. I think it's a top tier film in general, and it does them a great service, I think, or great justice to their story. I definitely think it's worth watching.
All right.
Absolutely, yeah. But Dre, when they introduced Dre's character, it's playing that song, and I can see the album cover, and I just can't remember what the name of the guy
people
is.
are going to be screaming at us, just like, you idiots.
Yeah, they're going to be like, they're going to be expecting us to get it, but...
Tell you what, give us feedback, let us know in the comments and like all of that stuff, like and subscribe and whatever the hell.
Nice.
And definitely, like, one thing that we are going to do is we are going to be aware, and we are going to try and get back to you guys as soon as humanly possible. If you've got any suggestions, any tips, pointers, anything like that, it's all good. But yeah, man, like, I tell you what, because I'm a film buff and I could talk to you about films like all day, better not. Let's get into the albums. What did you think about Big Pun's Capital Punishment that I gave you last week?
I think I mentioned last time that Big Pun was on he's been on my list of albums to check out. I just, for some reason, it ties into what you said last episode, where you were talking about he doesn't get brought up a lot. His name doesn't get brought up a lot, at least from your point of view, right? Yeah, and I get that, because for some reason it never felt as important. Like, it's important, but not as important as all the other, like, let's say, classic hip hop albums that I was diving back into when I was, going back in time, doing my research and trying to build my foundation, like my hip hop knowledge or whatever. And his name always comes up. I mean, I'd heard some songs from this before. So I'd heard the one with Fat Joe, Twins, the Deep Cover Now. It's just so, I can't describe what kind of hip hop that is. It's just so good. And good is not even the right enough word. Like, right enough, it's not even, I'm tripping over my words, like, talking about this. And this album is full of that kind of stuff. That kind of hip hop, which just really hits me in this way. You're right, giving me a wordsmith over this kind of production, which, yes, you can tell maybe, it was made in the 90s. I mean, towards the end of the 90s, like 1998 or something, right? He died, a couple years later, I think?
Oh, man.
I think it was 2000, I think.
It was early doors. Early in his career. He was gone too soon.
Yeah, I think did he only have this one album?
Man, you'd have thought that as a host I would have like gone and like researched a bit more. This is literally like, I heard this album and like I've just been in love with it since I heard it, like way back when. I haven't done any like research or anything like that into like him. I just knew that he died, and that's basically it. Like, actually, he did a round table as well, like with like DMX and Nas, and I think Busta Rhymes, I think. I can't remember. But like there are some really, really well-known rappers. And anyway, they're sitting around the table, so check that out.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Definitely. Yeah, because Big Pun he's been someone, obviously you hear about him a lot. If you're into hip hop, you hear about Big Pun a lot, and he's always brought up. But there has been some, actually I think I did write some stuff down. So he died 2 years later. He was only 28 years old as well, because a lot of the time people forget that when you mentioned that Tupac was like 24, 25 years old and Biggie about the same age when they died, I mean, I'm overtaking them in like, I'm 27, I'm 26, I'm going to be 27. That's crazy to me, you know, because of the stuff that they achieved in their lifetime. And you just think what could have potentially have come of them still being here. And Big Pun is one of those guys. And it's just crazy because Big Pun, I don't want to make the Fat Joe comparison, because I mean, obviously they're both Puerto Rican or whatever they are.
They're both wide. They're both, you know, light skinned, and they both sound the same.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if people thought that they were related to each other. I mean, I don't even know if they were or not. I didn't check, but they do have this similar kind of sound. I really like Fat Joe as well, just in general. I like his music, even like from the Fat Joe the Gangster stuff, like from the beginning. But Big Pun is like Fat Joe, but like he's different. But if you was to make the comparison, he's like Fat Joe times 10.
He's accelerated.
It's crazy. His flow and stuff is so nimble, and is nimble even a right word? It's like, it's smooth, but he's got this urgency to him as well, you know?
Yeah.
Where he's floating over these beats, which are perfectly crafted for him as well. Mm-hmm. And he just fits, like, when I see the music, like see the songs in my head, that's how I'm seeing him kind of just, his voice kind of just melt into the beats. And yet, how do I describe it? It's still, this is like this kind of synesthesia of it, where I'm seeing it bleed into the beats, but it's not becoming part of the beats. His voice is still distinct, that you it's still Big Pun's character, his personality comes out through it. I loved, it's, by today's standards, it's a long album, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it goes
24
on.
songs.
Yeah, it goes on and on.
It does go on, right? But there's like 7 skits or intermissions. So there's about 17 songs, which is still kind of long for this kind of era. So it's one of those things where I think, well, maybe I could throw it back to you. When you first heard this, when did you first hear it? When it came out?
See, I'd heard a couple of tunes like throughout, like downloading it and stuff when I was like younger, but around the sort of 2003, 2004 mark, that's when I really delved into it, because that's when I found like most of the hip hop that I like love. And it was something that I remember studying to that album like religiously throughout the few years at uni. So it's something that you know, like I feel like it's burned in my brain. Like even when I recommended it to you like last week, I was like, I still don't need to listen to it again, because well, actually tell a lie, I was in my car the other day and I found it and I was like, oh my goodness, and I put on a couple of tunes. There's a couple of there's one for me, one standout song on there that, you know, just always places me in a special time. It's Punish Me, because I
knew you were going to say that. As soon as you said it puts me in a special place,
it puts me
it's going to be that.
It's just like this weird sort of mental escape. Like I feel so at peace when I listen to that song. Like I don't know what it is. Like I could be like standing outside my grandma's house in the Caribbean, just looking at the sea, and I could just have that song playing, and I'm like, yeah, that belongs there, sort of thing. You know? Right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It's just brilliant, and his vocals. Like I see what you mean about the sort of way that he sort of bleeds in and out of like the beat, and then he's kind of he maintains his autonomy from the beat, but then he's also so part of the overall aesthetic of each song that like he becomes both a vocal component of the song and an instrument at the same time that drives the music forward.
100% agree.
And it's just something that to craft the music and to craft your lyrical flow like that is a gift in itself. Like, there are very few artists that I believe that can actually do that.
Yeah, no.
And also, you can hear him in some of his in some of the songs, like, because he wasn't a small guy, right? You can hear him actually struggling to breathe.
I didn't know whether to bring that up or not, because you do hear rappers like breathe between takes and stuff.
Yeah.
If you listen to "Lose Yourself" by Eminem, this took me a while. I didn't notice it when I first listened. But then there was a time when I realized after every line, you can hear him like do this big like gasping for air, right?
Yeah.
And I actually don't mind. I don't necessarily like it if rappers cut it out, because it can seem a bit too robotic. I don't know what you're trying to prove if you're just being like, I don't breathe, you know. Like, okay. I think it sounds a bit more human, which actually adds to it. Right, when you're very, very skilled. If you are a mere human who's very, very skilled at something, you've built that, you've practiced that, and you've perfected that. I don't need you to be an alien, because then it's less impressive, you know.
Exactly.
But you know, being an alien is just like, I guess, a term people use to kind of be like, yeah, this guy's just fucking incredible. It's the only way I can describe them. But I didn't know whether to mention or not, but with Big Pun, his gasps for air sound different. Like, yeah, you're right. I think that's also, didn't know where to like toe the line here, because obviously we're not showing any disrespect to him at all. We're just observing. You're right. He was a big guy, and if anything, it made me wonder, how is he being so? How does he have this dexterity in his delivery? I'm surprised he wasn't struggling more. Yeah,
it's just something that I think that, like, he's such a competent rapper. Like, he's been comfortable, like, he's been living that for for ages, maybe his whole life, you know. And it's just something that I just think that his personality really does come out.
It does, definitely. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and like, you could even see it as like, maybe he was limited by, you know, like his ill health and like his body and stuff like that, but still he's still able to just, like, you know, spit verses that are to this day like burned in my brain. Like, they're so good. And it's despite it, you know, or in spite of his size, he's just there killing it as a rapper. Like, he
just did it. Yeah,
it's brilliant.
It's like second nature almost.
Yeah.
I thought I know I talked about the album being long.
Yeah.
But I still thought it was well sequenced. Like, when you sequence an album, I think it's really important, because it's like throwing a movie, all the scenes in a movie, and just throwing them on shuffle. It ruins the flow and it doesn't make sense. For an album, the song placements is really key. And I actually thought the skits and the intermissions, it's not really a thing that's done now, but they worked to create this continuous flow that it still felt long, but it didn't feel like a dragging kind of long. It felt like I'm just part of this big audio movie, even though there's no real narrative or structure to it. It's just the way everything flowed in kept you in there. It's like, you know, the pack and the mac in the back of the ack thing, you know. Like, I was like, oh, so that's where that comes from. I'd heard that, you know, when Eminem did Rap God, you know, I've got the back and the back and the mac and the yak with the yak, you know, that thing that he does. And I knew it was a reference to some old school stuff. And I know we talked about that album. That album did make me go back to check out the throwbacks that he was referring to as well at that time. But this just never came up on my radar when I was doing that. But then when I heard it, the pack and the mac in the back of the ack, I was like, oh shit, okay. It's like, it just felt like, it did feel like something that he in person, he would just come up with that, because his mind is geared that way to just come up with that, just to see that pattern in the words and what people were saying. And I thought the sequencing was nice. I I like the song. I like the Punish Me song. I like the commercial stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think which one do you prefer out of Still Not a Player and I'm Not a Player?
I don't know. Oh man, Still Not a Player, I think.
Okay, I prefer the other one.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, but maybe it could be because I've heard Still Not a Player a few times before.
Oh,
So
fair
maybe
enough.
It could be that I'm Not a Player felt a bit more fresh to me. I listened to this through like twice, because not in the same sitting, but over a course of like a couple days. Because again, because of the length, sometimes it can take a while for longer albums for me to go back and revisit, unless there's songs in there I really want to go back and hear.
Yeah.
I'd heard Super Lyrical before.
Yep.
So I love the back and forth songs. I love the song with Fat Joe, like I said. Mm-hmm. They just seem like a two-headed monster on that. Like they're just feeding off each other so nicely, and that beat is just so it's so what's the word? It's so grimy, it's so gutter, it's so hip-hop, it's so and I know it's Dre and Snoop beat originally, because I mean that's why they call it Deep Cover 98. But man, Big Pun and Fat Joe, you can tell that East Coast influence that they bring to that just makes it more grimy. And I didn't know that Prodigy on the song, what was it called? Trey Leche or something like I wrote down. Trey Leche's Treboro trilogy towards the end. I don't know if that rings a bell, but like it's got Prodigy and Inspector Deck. I recognize Prodigy's voice. You know? Okay, yeah, so I recognize.
Oh, this album's burned in my brain, and then he's forgotten the first song, like the first time you test me. What an idiot!
I was hoping you would just know it.
You know what? What an idiot! No, do you know what? I've just drawn a blank. Today's that day.
That's fine. That's fine.
But anyway,
it's a long album, right? So, but I didn't know, because I wanted to look at the production credits, because I loved the beats on here.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if it was just one guy who did all the beats because of how the uniformity of the whole thing. But it's not. It's one of those kind of typical hip hop albums where there's a bunch of different producers on there. And I didn't know Prodigy, I might be completely wrong on this. I didn't know Prodigy had rapped over a RZA beat, and that was a RZA beat towards the end. Because
Really?
Yeah, because I thought, I heard Prodigy. I love Prodigy.
Yeah.
I love Inspector Deck. I didn't know, I mean, yeah, they're both from New York, but I for some reason in my head I was thinking, what? These two on a song together? That's just not something I'd put together. And then it makes sense that if it's a RZA beat, it's like, okay, that's the Wu connection. Maybe like Inspector Deck was on it already, or something like that. I don't know. It probably works a bit different back then. But yeah, I just thought that track worked nicely. Black Thought on Super Lyrical.
Oh, man.
You can't say anything about Black Thought. You can't say anything bad about Black Thought.
He's just fantastic. Like, what a rapper he is. What an MC he is.
He is an MC's MC.
Yeah.
But and the thing is, he's still so... It's not like he had a prime that he's out of. It feels like he's still in it.
No, that's just Black Thought. He's just perennially in his prime.
Yeah, there's no prime for Black Thought because he's always in it.
That's it.
He just... And it was weird because I was listening to his new album that he dropped last year. So when I heard him on here, his voice is deeper now, and here his delivery is a bit more kind of lighter toned, or it's a bit more. Yeah, I can't describe it, but I was like, but I could tell that was Black Thought. I was like, whoa, that's Black, and I'd heard the song before. I was like, whoa, that's Black Thought. That's crazy. Big Pun had one of my favorite lines on there. I can't remember all the lines and stuff because there were loads, but there's one. Something about battling Jesus, sending him back as an angel or something. That whole string that he did. I wish I'd pulled up the lyrics beforehand, but that whole string and the rhymes, the Jesus rhyme that he kept going with, and then taking back as an angel, like ending it on the angel rhyme. I was just like, and the way he just did it, and it's one of those things where when it starts out, it's like I'd battle Jesus, and you're like, what the fuck? Okay, where's he going with this? And then he keeps it going. You're kind of in this limbo listening to him, like, how is he going to land this, right? How is he going to land it? And then it's so satisfying when it does. It's one of those kind of those rhymes, those setups that just it's those long-winded kind of rhyme setups. Like who else does it? Like Royce da 5'9" does it a lot, where it's not like Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne's a bit more of a direct punchline rapper, where it's kind of one line set up, the next line punchline, or even in the same line. Someone like Royce and Big Pun will stretch it out, and they'll throw some rhymes in there, some internal rhymes, and then you'll be like, it's like you're going for a ride while listening to it, and then you get to the setup, and it's just that much more satisfying when it hits. And there was a lot of that with Big Pun. Like I need to go back and keep listening to this because
there's a
just
tune
so much
on the album called Glamour Life. Like the whole way through, like just the way that he raps, and what you said earlier on about the urgency that he presents in songs. I just think that song epitomizes just how good he really is, because you got that like almost off-key violin sound in the back, and then you got the heavy bass, and then the drums come in, and it's just like, holy moly! Like all of a sudden, you're just like you were in your room like a second ago. Like, do you know what I mean? You were listening to a track, and then you've been transported into like some kind of drugged out New York flipping den, and cops are coming. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And you're just like, you feel the danger
into that. 100%, man. 100%. I'm gonna pull up the track list just to spark my memory. Glamour Life, that's the Posse cut, right? With Fat Joe and Armageddon, and love that one as well. I love that song. I might catch flack for this. I'm not. I was gonna say I'm not the biggest like Wyclef Jean fan, but not in a bad way. Not in like I dislike him or I think he's overrated. I'm just not. I just don't listen to him like that.
Yeah.
But I thought he did his thing on here when I heard him on here. I liked
that song Caribbean Connection, no?
Caribbean Connection. Yeah. So you do know your shit. Okay.
Yeah. That song was a big tune back in the day.
Oh, was it? Okay. That's
just in my circle of friends, because what I did at uni was I would put my volume on 11, and I'd just be like, listen to this. And I'd be like, Dave, like,
what's everyone just to listen?
Just shut up and listen. You want to come in my room? You want to come in my house? In fact, you got to listen to this song. Pay the ticket.
Mate, I 100% get that, because I need to see that you pass the vibe check before you roll through.
Yeah. 2021's got people passing like temperature checks. No. KaeDee and David, you got to pass the vibe checks.
Vibe check. You can wear your PPE and all that sort of shit. As long as you pass the vibe check, then you can come through. But yeah, one thing which I think is a unfortunate... well, I'm sure rappers do it now still, but I don't understand why some if I have to talk about any downsides for this album, because I love this album. I think it's so good, right? I get excited by the idea of, I'm going to go listen to that again. You know, and you don't always find that, especially now just in the sea of releases that you get bombarded with. It's hard sometimes to come across stuff where you sit there and you think, I can't wait to run this back, because this song and this song and this song, and it all bleeds into one, because you're just enjoying yourself so much that you're like, I can't wait to run it back and kind of pick out the songs that was really sparking my interest. And maybe this song will then start to grow on me a bit more, because I'll start to hear what he's saying. It's just, but I do really enjoy this album. So if I have to talk about any downsides, I don't understand why rappers do this. We get it that you get girls. We get it that your skills and your fame and all that sort of stuff attracts that kind of attention. We get it. Why do I need to hear, when I'm listening to your album, where I've just heard you rap really well, by the way, and really expertly explain how you get this attention? Why do I need to now hear a skit of you acting out, of you having sex, or you having your dick sucked, or whatever? Why do I need to hear that? Why do I need to hear that you're in the middle of a threesome with these two girls and they're both fighting over who gets you because one of them got more of you the night before? I believed you. I don't need to hear you talking to Funk Flex about you know, yeah, we get a lot of, you know, yeah, I've heard stories, we get a lot of girls. It just always seems so weird to me. And
Yeah.
I hate to like talk ill of the dead or be like disrespect, any of this to come off as disrespect, but I have the same criticism with any rapper who does it. With Biggie as well. I didn't need the fuck me skit on Ready to Die.
Yeah.
I didn't need his dick being sucked at the end of whatever song it was that leads into Everyday Struggle, which I love that song, but you can hear the leftover of the slurping noises. Why do I need to hear that?
Yeah. I hear you.
It just screams Curie. That's what it really does.
But I also
really
think
does.
that it's also zeitgeist, right? So it's sort of playing to the crowd of the time. Essentially, it was.
Okay,
it
I was
was
going to
like
ask
the
you
dumb
that.
thing.
Do you think it was a product of its time?
I think so. I mean, but you still hear it. Like some rappers do it today. I think like there's a tune by Big Sean called Sierra Leone, and that happens at the end of that. And I'm like, beautiful song, love the song. And then I'm just like, why do I like? I don't understand why rappers really do it, but I do think it's like a product of its time. But I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong.
I don't. Yeah. See, I keep hearing, I hear sex skits and stuff, and I just think, why? Like, I was gonna bring up the Ghostface example, but that wasn't a sex skit. The song was him just describing it, and then the girl's kind of responding back to him. He's talking about like having sex with this girl in a hotel room, but he's rapping his parts, but she's talking to him, like responding as normal. So it's almost as if, but that I can kind of forgive because you've worked it into the song. So you're kind of creating the kind of the storytelling and the environment. But when it's just a skit where you're acting it out, like, yes, I know what it means when you say, you know, I get bitches, you know, money bitches.
No interpretation needed there.
There's no, I get what you mean. Like, I don't need for it to be thrown in my face.
Yeah, I hear you.
When I've heard it in your bars, and I'm more impressed by the bars, and I believe you because of the way you delivered the bars. Once you start acting it out, it feels like you're just overdoing it now. It's like, okay, you're kind of losing me now. But I wanted to ask you, back to the whole product of its time thing. Do you think this is, because I've heard this question before, do you think this album is a classic in the sense, not personally to you, take away your kind of, it might be hard to do so, but to take away your kind of personal attachment to the album, but in terms of the culture or hip hop as a genre, do you see this album as a classic?
Unfortunately, no, I don't. If I take my rose-tinted glasses off, I think that it's a very competent album. It flows, and it also highlights just how good an MC like he was. You know, does it stand the test of time? Like, you look at other artists, like you look at Illmatic, for example.
I knew you were going to say that,
Yeah, I mean, that to me personally, like, spoilers for anyone who cares, but like, that is my favorite hip hop album of all time. I haven't heard anything better, in my opinion. I've heard people come close. Nothing captures my imagination like that album. So I consider that a classic. And there are others that I would put above Big Pun and Capital Punishment. Goodness, it saddens me to say I do think I think it is a classic, but I don't think it's like going to be remembered in the halls of, like, you know, Tupac's All Eyes on Me, or, you know, Nas, anything like that. So no, unfortunately.
That's fine. I mean, I think when people throw it around like colloquially, like classic, it's just like something that really means a lot to them, or they really enjoy. But
I'm glad that you said that, actually, because that's how I think I introduced it to you last episode. I said it's a classic album, and I'm like, actually, when I think about it, it's classic to me because I'm classic. But
because it made me think of the question. It made me think, because when we talk about classics, I think people mistake their favorite albums for being classic albums. But I think if we're talking classic, I think it can be a little bit more objective. So it doesn't mean not every great album has to be classic. I don't think a lot of artists go out their way to make classic albums. I think albums become classic as time goes on, and
Agreed.
you see how the culture reacts and how the genre moves on from it. So, for example, like a lot of people now, they openly say that they like 808s and Heartbreak by Kanye. But at the time, it got a lot of flack, right? I don't know whether you're a fan or not.
I have tried to go back and listen to. So we had this conversation when we were on one lunchtime, and you said to me, "Go back and listen to all the albums of Kanye's that you ain't listened to," and I have since. And boy, like, time does really give you perspective. If you weren't ready for something at the time, like I wasn't ready for 808s and Heartbreaks, there is some musical genius on that album that, it eluded me the first time. So,
and do you know what the thing is that I think people are more open about saying that album's a classic now, because a lot of hip hop sounds like that album now. Yeah. Right? That album, you forget, came out in 2008.
Yeah.
And it stands up the test of time because we got the Drakes and the Weekends and the Futures and all that sort of stuff. We got the rappers doing the auto-tune thing, and we got the minimalist, dark, kind of moody 808 beats and all that sort of stuff, and the trap stuff, which kind of, 808s and Heartbreak wasn't trap, but it lent itself to that kind of aesthetic.
It's almost like the father of it, right?
Yeah, and it was just way before its time, because that stuff started to really, I think, take, in my memory, when you started to just hear artists jump on trap beats and that kind of minimalist, moody kind of emo sound, which also like Drake popularized as well as other artists like The Weeknd and stuff. Kanye was doing it in 2008. And so you can say, regardless of whether you like that album or not, the argument can be made that it's a classic, because without it, the genre will be different, potentially.
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
As much as I hate to say it as well, like, when Justin Timberlake's Future Sex Love Sounds came out, game changer. Yeah. All pop music sounded like that afterwards.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, but would you consider that a classic album?
In
that sense.
when did it come out?
Oh, blimey. Future Sex Love Sounds. 2000, maybe 2008? 2006?
Yeah, so quite a lot of time has passed now for, I think, people to be able to say, yeah, that was a classic. If we took that out, pop music would sound different. I think if it's made that much of a contribution and that much, it doesn't, not every, this can be a whole separate conversation about what defines
I think so.
Yeah, but I think it ties into the whole Big Pun thing, because this is an amazing album. This is an amazing hip hop album. But whereas something like Illmatic was 10 songs of solid, basically perfection, and one of the first few albums on that scale where he used a bunch of different producers and wasn't doing the whole one MC, one producer thing, that set off that trend, and that set off the whole, being lyrical and not being lyrical, that was done before as well, but really pushing it to that level, because we all know Nas as being like an intellectual like that. And then for him to feed it into his rhymes like that, but still be gritty and still be so accessible at the same time.
But also like pioneering in some of his ideas. Like, I think his best idea was I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. I mean,
how many times is that quoted, right?
I remember the first time I heard it and I was like, mind just blown.
I remember the first time. I know we're supposed to talk about Big Pun, but this ties into it, because I'm listening to Big Pun, this whole album. I'm listening to it in 2021. Yeah, it came out in 1998. I can't really. The fact that it didn't come up on my lists, like it didn't cut through for me to be like, I have to listen to this over something like Low End Theory by Tribe or Illmatic or all these kind of albums, kind of maybe speaks to to the fact that it's a great hip hop album. That's why it's on the list, but maybe it's not cutting through because it's not as essential as people maybe want to make it out to be.
Agreed.
Because of, but that's fine. That doesn't take away from its greatness. Being classic and being great, just because an album's classic doesn't even make it necessarily more enjoyable or better than an album that you're really into, or that is just a solid hip-hop album or a solid whatever album, just solid musical album.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be classic. There's so many great albums that are not classic. Why? Because not all of them are trying to be, you know. But I will always remember Illmatic blowing my mind, even in retrospect, as in even listening to it later, because of the way he was rapping over those beats. And the fact that I was listening to it in 2000 and whatever, when it came out in the mid-90s. I think it came out the year I was born. And
it's either 92 or 94.
I think it was 94.
94.
Yeah, I think it was the year I was born. And that whole, rappers are monkey flipping with the funky rhythm I be kicking, musician and flipping compositions. Brains in my brain fame, money maintained. Don't go. Oh no, that's bleeding into life's a bitch. Because that blew my mind as well. Like AZ's verse on that, like the way he was, release housing scriptures that maybe aiming guns at all my baby pictures, releasing housing scriptures that may be Hitler's or something like that. The way he was rapping like that.
Yeah, The World Is Yours, man. That's probably
Jesus
my
Christ.
favorite track on that album. Like, that is an album which is definitely inscribed in my brain. Like, it is forever there. I think The World Is Yours is one of the greatest hip hop songs of all time. On possibly the greatest hip hop album of all time. But we digress. We will, because to be honest, we will deep dive into Nas. There's no point even doing a singular album of his. We will have to do a deep dive into him.
He's got an extensive catalogue. We can deep dive.
Definitely.
On Nas, most definitely.
It's amazing because at no point did I think, he fell off. It's amazing.
I think there was only one album of his, and I don't even think it was his fault, which I was like, I'm not really on it like this. But I never thought, he doesn't have it anymore. That was Kanye's fault. That was not Nas's fault.
Well, Kanye we might have to do one on him as well, because that guy.
I think we should do one on him. Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard of him was on a Scarface track called "Guess Who's Back" with Scarface. Oh boy,
I love that song. Yeah,
Summertimes. That is a separate conversation, because we've been going ages already, man. We're gonna have to cut this to fuck.
That's fine. I can do my best. Final thoughts on Big Pun. I mean, what more can I say? Amazing hip hop album from the 90s, kind of, or like late 90s era. Actually, I don't even think it should just be boxed into like that. I just think across the board, it's an amazing hip hop album. Yeah. And I really, really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to just going back through it and just putting it on, just having another listen, just breaking down some of the bars, just listening to the flows and stuff, because that's just thing about that, it's the equivalent of singers hitting high notes and doing trills, all the right notes stuff. It's something about MCs that just get in the pocket.
What it is for me, is, sorry to cut across you, bro, but it is for me, I'm really attracted to vocal dynamism. So whether or not it doesn't have to be fast flow, I don't know if you've heard Ocean Wisdom, he's just literally fast flow the whole time, but Big Pun can do that, but it's the dynamism of being able to kind of recognize when the tune needs to breathe, when the person who's listening to you needs to breathe, and then when you just go into it hard, and then when you add a little bit of aggression into your cadence, or when you soften a little bit, it's just tiny little bits of dynamism that he inserts into songs that I think it's second to none, actually. Doing what the song needs, not what your ego needs, not to show off that I can do this, but more so it's about the song, right? And great MCs have great ears for beats as well. That's another part. So, and a great ear for the kind of the musicality of the beats, what the beat needs, not, so that's why I think he works with it. He flows into it so nicely, into all these beats, and there's just, he picked all the right ones for him. He didn't pick anything too much where I was like, why would you don't need to rap over this, you don't suit this. It was just across the board, almost like it was crafted around him, But so
Yeah, great album. Do a
Out
top
of 10,
5.
what did you
songs.
get it?
Out of 10. Oh shit, forgot about that.
No,
I gave it like an 8.5.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the length and stuff, it might not be fair, but the length kind of pulls it back a little bit for me. And those stupid sex skits and kind of, having to throw it in my face that you have threesomes and you get girls, and it's like, I get it. I got this from the bars. I didn't need
confirmation of that.
I didn't need confirmation of that. I believed you.
Yeah, man, you can be as harsh as you want in your scoring. Listen, when it comes to my scoring, I'm going to be brutal. If you are getting an 8.5 out of, like, your album is exceptional.
I think this album is exceptional. I think it is really,
cool.
really, really, really fucking good. So 8.5. Are we doing like a top 5 songs?
We've been running for so long. Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
How long have we been running for?
Oh man, I think.
Does it say?
An hour.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, dude, you gassing.
Oh, we might just have to, just embrace that. But yeah. So yeah, top 5 songs. I'll do it quickly. Super Lyrical.
Yeah.
You Ain't a Killer. I kept forgetting. I love that song. I love the sample as well.
Yeah.
Glamour Life, Twins, and then the one with Prodigy, Trey Letches. I don't know how to say it. The one with Prodigy and Inspector Deck. Those were my top 5. So those will be on the playlist. All right. So
brilliant.
Second album. Do you want me to remind the listeners?
So, yeah, go on then, man. Yeah, do it.
So I'll let you talk about it first, and then I'll say why I was into it. I think that's what we did last time, right? So
good point. Yeah. So, yeah, this was Loyle Carner's album, Yesterday's Gone. Mm-hmm. He's a UK hip-hop artist. Really... So, like, what I got from this album, like, I messaged you halfway through my first listen. I got to a tune called Damselfly on there, and I was like, I've heard this album before. And I was like, no, but I listened to it with fresh ears. Okay. Now, the one thing that really sort of sticks out to me about this album is it was actually two things, actually. The first thing is like the album craft. So what I mean by that is actually how the album is constructed, like how it's paced, and also the themes that run throughout the album. How do they flow from beginning to end? And I've got to admit that on like this second listen, I really found that this is a brilliantly crafted album, actually. I think that, in fact, I would go a little bit beyond that and say that as an album, it is exceptionally crafted, because the tones, the themes, just the way that it moves and the way that your emotions kind of always stay kind of on an even keel. I think that the way that it kind of keeps you bouncing along and bobbing along is brilliant. And I think that when listening to like modern music, the art of crafting an album is really, really difficult, and it is a lost art. But this album is excellent in its themes.
I agree.
The second thing that I wanted to like bring up is the honesty of it. I'm sort of a bit disappointed, like at the end of last episode when you said, "Oh, it's his debut," because I picked up on that when I was listening to it. So like, I was like, "Oh my gosh, is it his debut?" Like, do you know what I mean? When I was listening to it, and I was like, "Oh right, okay." But it made sense, because I think that when I was listening to it, I can't think of like specific lines that he said, but it was the way, like, it was like there's certain inflections in his voice, and there were certain moments where I was thinking, you're not too sure about what you're saying, or you're really presenting like quite a vulnerable, nervous side of yourself. But taking away from that, I just thought that the delivery of the album, like his rhymes, his honesty, his lyricism, really good. He seems like somebody that we would know. I don't get any sort of like, there's no sort of flashiness, like, look how good I am or whatever. Like, it's very much an honest, like, here I am, here's my story, and I like good music. Hence the production on the album. Like, you can get, he's heavily influenced by Motown. Good man. Like,
the
album,
can hear that in the samples, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, the musical experience of it, like the sounds, the way the songs sound, like, it's all crisp, it's all new. Like, I've written notes on basically every single like song, and like there's a common theme, which is nice intro, very on the nose, nice middle eight, really, really lovely listen. And that's song 1. Song 2, smooth tune. Song 3, not very vocally dynamic so far, but really lovely song. Like, do you know what I mean? So,
sure.
And that's basically like my experience throughout the whole album. It doesn't take any chances. It is what it is. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say on the album. So why did you choose that for me?
I chose it because I love the album. As you can tell, if you're going to watch this on YouTube, actually you can't even see it. I have an Ain't Nothing Changed jumper.
Yeah,
is obviously from one of the songs, and I also have Pride. Let's take it out of this bad boy. Check this shit out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's probably can't see it on the streaming service, but there's a dog there.
Yeah,
because I only noticed it on the back. Because obviously this, again, what we're talking about with, like, when you're bombarded with streaming and stuff, with all the music that's out, it can be hard to kind of, even things like looking at the album artwork, you're just seeing it on a very small kind of, just on the screen.
Yeah, on a thumbnail, yeah.
Yeah, this is like a proper picture, I'm looking at. It's like a proper piece of art. The color grading of even though it's black and white, it feels like there's some proper care taken into the color grading. Everything about this cover embodies the album for me. I'm guessing these are all his family or friends and stuff. And the football there, like, that plays into his personality and stuff. I love this album. I don't know if I can I don't know if I've well enough. I fucking love this album. Like, I remember, I think I got when Apple Music came out. That was 2015, and I remember getting it, and this whole idea that, wow, I can basically get what Spotify offers, but I can add it to my song, like my music that I already have, that I'd ripped from CDs, and because I always wanted CD quality and that, so I'd rip that onto my iTunes. I would listen to Spotify just to kind of preview the album first, and then be like, yeah, it's worth spending my money to buy that. And I remember hearing Ain't Nothing Changed and being like, again, this whole not hearing this type of music before, this type of hip hop before, especially from the UK. Because when we talk about UK hip hop, there's, we talk about High Focus. A lot of people think about I don't know if you know about the High Focus label, because you mentioned Ocean Wisdom. He was on that for a while. There's people like Dirty Dyke and Jam Baxter and Verb T and Flip Tricks, and them. They're part of like the UK hip hop scene. But there's this other kind of scene that's happening with people like Loyle Carner, and I can't really put his music into a box or a category. And it's funny that you said, you kept saying, oh, it's just a really lovely listen, or this is really lovely music, because that's how you describe Common. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but do you find some similarity between them?
Only in the musicality, I guess. Like, yeah,
in the kind of feeling of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas Common makes me feel like, I'm listening to like somebody impart like genuine soulful wisdom. Like, I feel that Loyle Carner is sharing his honest story with me. Like, Ain't Nothing Changed is fantastic. Like, that is a coming of age song if ever I've heard one, right? He talks about like uni, he talks about growing up. He's basically like a boy into manhood. Like, it's fantastically honest. And that maybe is another comparison with, say, you know, A Common, for example. They're tremendously honest over a lovely piece of music.
Because that's the best way to describe it, right? A lovely piece of music. Like, because that, even though this album is kind of, I wouldn't say dark, it's a bit low key, or it's a bit down tempo, but for not all of it, especially in comparison to his second album. That's more so, I don't know if you've heard it, but it's more soulful. It's more, the premise, the theme, the concept is a bit different. I mean, even in the title of this, Yesterday's Gone, it's kind of a depressing statement. Like, I mean, you can see it in two ways. You can see it in a negative of,
I see it as a positive, man.
Or you can see it as a positive, like, well, yesterday's gone now, we're moving forward. Yeah,
I made my mistakes. Like, I've turned into a man now. Like, music's important to me. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and it really embodies that. And you can hear you said that you can hear the Motown influences. You can really hear the hip hop influences as well. Because I mean, even on No CD, when it's like, you know, got a couple Most Defs, a couple ODBs, put them up in perfect order because of my OCD. And I like that OCD sounds like old CD. That's a really kind of MC thing to do.
Yeah,
which I really like. But I like the upbeat songs like that as well, like No CD, Stars and Shards, especially No CD, when in the third verse, when everything drops out except for the drums. And those drums are some of the nicest drums I've heard.
Right, clean.
It's just
everything
so nice.
is crisp on this album.
That reminds me, actually, do you know an artist called Odyssey?
Yeah.
He's someone I would describe as having just crisp, clean, smooth production. I've never really put this comparison together. I don't think style-wise as MCs, they're the same. But musically, in terms of crisp, clean kind of production and execution, Loyle Carner has it, especially on this album. I just remember hearing Ain't Nothing Changed in 2015, thinking, man, who is this? This is sick. And then there being nothing else of his on when I went to his artist profile. And it's the worst thing when it's like, this is it. And then he had Stars and Shards came out, and he was one of those guys that his name would just stay in my head. And then when I saw another song from him, I'm like, okay, I'm straight on that. I want to hear, because I haven't got anything else to go by, just this one song, this drip feed of kind of, we were talking off camera and off air, I guess. We were talking about
a bunch of air.
We were talking a bunch of air, but we were talking about great artists leaving time to let life and experience kind of inform their art and their music. I mean, I heard Loyle Carner, I heard Ain't Nothing Changed in 2015. This album, I said in the last episode, that came out 2016, actually came out 2017. And I remember Stars and Shards, he had another song called Tierney Terrace, which didn't make it onto this album. And I think No CD was a single as well, I'm not sure. And then that was throughout 2016. He kind of just drip fed these singles. And then when he announced the album, I couldn't wait. And I remember hearing it and not being disappointed. I just remember thinking, I've not heard, especially from the UK, I've not heard an album like this. I don't think I've heard an album like this from America. You probably couldn't get an album like this from America because the perspectives are different. I
agree. This is a very British album.
It's very British. It's very, and he's not one of those British MCs who are too overly kind of, this guy is clearly just, he's so British. But it's more in the feeling, the way it carries itself. You can identify, and like you said, you feel like you know him. Because when you listen to him, you're like, this sounds like my mate talking to me.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something about in your notes about the not much variation in the vocals.
Yeah.
He said something like that. And I think it's because I guess that's his style and it's true. I mean, he doesn't have too much variation. He's very measured, and it's very, even almost sometimes he's a bit behind the beat mix wise. Yeah. Not rhythm wise, definitely not. He's always on beat, but he's a bit behind it mix wise. So he's kind of, the beat can overtake him a little bit, but it still works. It adds to it, you know, that kind of almost tired kind of, I've just woken up and I'm a bit fed up and I'm just kind of telling you how I feel.
Yeah.
Like on
Yeah.
Mean It in the Morning when he's just, but it's like what I was mentioning about Rock Marciano is it just happens to all rhyme while he's doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's great. And then it makes the more animated parts, like the first song, like Isle of Arran. I love the way this song kicks off the whole project.
It's very good.
Yeah. And he, if anything, if you compare his vocal delivery on that to the rest, to some of the songs that come straight after, it's actually a bit more animated, a bit more aggressive. You can hear it. It's very subtle in his voice.
Okay.
That he's a bit more aggressive, you know, when he's talking about, I did do like a read at the lyrics and that when I first heard it, because when I first heard it, I took it to mean that he was talking about his dad and someone not being there for him. So his dad, but then also for like God not being there, right? So, you know, didn't believe in much. I may be equating, mistaken two songs, because again, you're right, there's a uniformity to this album where sometimes I'm like, I have to go back and listen again, because I listen to it, I don't pick out songs to listen to unless they come up in a playlist. I go in from beginning to end as if it's like one movie in one piece, one journal entry. You know, so I can't remember, like, oh shit, what did that seamstress song go like again in my head? What did No Worries sound like? I can, over time I've been able to distinguish them, but to me his albums belong like on vinyl, you know, his albums belong as records. You need the crackle of the crackle. Vinyl. You need that, you know, even starts
authentic.
with it. It even starts with it, right? And I'm guessing that crackle comes from the sample, and it sounds like the kind of album you put on and you just listen to, that there's no skipping, there's no picking a song out of context. You play it from beginning to end and you kind of sit with him in his mind while he kind of narrates his vulnerability to you, while he narrates his journey to you.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and the animated parts where it really picks up, again, the sequencing is great, because too many songs where he's too laid back and too kind of behind the beat before you get to an animated song. It's all well put together. The little skit, like not skits, but the little interludes where like the +441 one, and the one where his mate is telling him, I think Rebel is telling him, you know, just shut up and stop overthinking stuff, or just enjoy life, you know, that kind of thing. Which I think leads into
that's what leads. I think that's basically the basis behind the album and the album title. Like when they're saying like, just stop overthinking. Yesterday's gone. Stop dwelling. I think that like this album is an acknowledgement of his past and everything that made him him. And I think that it's also like, all right, cool. Let me walk on forward. Let me walk on forward and actually like let me throw myself into this music thing. This is my future. And I think I think it's like a really, like for a debut album, like I think it's fantastic. Like he couldn't ask for anything more. The one of the main drawbacks for me is that I heard this album before and I forgot it. Like I've got a really good memory for, I've got it's almost freakish. Like I could hear a song and I will, you know, if I really like it, I will remember that and commit that to memory. And it wasn't only until I got to Damselfly that I was like, I've heard this before, because this is the one song, this is the standout song for me. Oh damn, so you actually heard the first couple songs and didn't remember having heard them before? At all. Like, yes, not even a memory as well. So interesting. Yeah, and but the thing is, like, I listened to it like that first time and I was like, nah, I don't know, like would I, you know, nah, all right, cool. But then I listened to it again, and I've sat with it now, and I listened to it earlier on today and I was like, no, I'm being a bit harsh. Like there's not a bad song on here, and there's also like they're all memorable in their own right, like as a piece of work. And what I said at the top of my, you know, my review and my thoughts, as a body of work, fantastic. Like it's great. Like it's almost inoffensive, like to such a degree that you would put it on at a barbecue and it'd be fine. There's the odd curse word. Just fast forward through some of the skits. Like it's accessible music, and it's a really honest piece of work.
It is extremely honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Does it grab me? Like, does it slap me in the face, look me in the eyes, and say, "Oi, you listen to me"? No, not particularly. It's not music that will like, which will like pump your nads. Like, DMX, like X gon' give it to you.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's not DMX. It
ain't that. But like, if you want a nice, easy listen, like by all means, like this is a great debut, and a great sounding album. Like it's really good.
It sounds great.
Yeah. It's just nice. It puts you in a nice vibe.
I think it really hits in the feels at certain times as well, which is really, I think, what really stood out for me sometimes. So Ain't Nothing Changed really made me feel something. Mean It in the Morning. I mean, sometimes I can hear that song in my head now, but sometimes I avoid listening to that song because I don't want to feel
oh man,
that way.
I came in to laugh, not to
I came in for some raps. I didn't come in. I didn't come in to start thinking about stuff and then have this be the soundtrack to it, because that's what happens. I mean, Mrs. C, when he's talking, I'm guessing he's talking about someone that he goes to see, and now, because so and so is a reflection of you, they're like your legacy that you're leaving on, your nephews, your nieces, your kids, and whoever, they remind me of you. They're a reflection of you. And I remember that song came on when a couple years ago when I went to go see my one of my grandparents in hospital once, and she, it was one of those kind of times where it was coming to the end, and I remember going to see her, and then that song happened to come on, and it really, really hit me, like, wow, like that, just that, the piano and the kind of the easygoing kind of drums, and it has that live feel to it. Florence as well. Florence, where he's talking about having a sister, and I remember thinking, oh, okay, so you make sick music, you sound like a sick guy, you're really good at MCing, and you have a sister as well. Like, you just have everything I wish I could be, right, in my life. Because I grew up with two brothers, and I kind of always wanted a sister as well, just because, brothers are not always the one. But it turns out he doesn't actually have a sister in real life. He's actually just imagining what it would be like if he did have one, because he wanted one too. And if anything, that made me feel even more connected. I'm like, okay, you don't have the life I want. You actually are the same. Like, you actually have a similar kind of thought. Because I remember thinking of that idea before. Like, what would it? I've done that before. I've kind of imagined, what if I had 6 or 7 siblings like my mom and dad did? That kind of thing. And it makes you feel connected. These really honest, vulnerable kind of stories that he tells, and really lets you into his mind, and you think, damn, okay, there's other people out here that think the same way I do. I guess that's the whole point, right? I guess that's why this album in particular really, really hit me, because it felt like an album. It felt like my mate just talking to me. Whether it,
I was gonna it's funny that you mentioned Florence, because that was one of the standout tunes. I just put piano, yes, bass in the chorus. I'm all about that. But like, the thing is, I stopped commenting on the lyrics because it was just there. It was good. It was competent. It was great. It was, all well done. So, no, honestly, thank you very much for that. I'll do my quick 5 tracks. Isle of Arran, definitely. Mean It in the Morning. Damsel Fly, Ain't Nothing Changed, and Florence. But then I love Seamstress.
Seamstress
Stars
is
and
great.
Shards I like. I mean, No CD is really good. So
All right, well, I'll take your first 5.
Yeah, man. Yeah, do it like that. But thank you very much for that. I will check him out, like second album out and stuff.
Yeah, definitely check the second album out. If you haven't, by the time we do another exchange, maybe it might end up in there. But
do you know what? I'll save it for then.
Yeah, because I wouldn't mind discussing that one too. But
yeah, man, cool.
What rating would you give it?
It's going to be harsh. 6.5 out of 10.
6.5.
Yeah, solid day. Listen. A score between 6 and 8.5. You're looking at decent album. All right, you're looking at really competent, decent album. My problem with it is that while I like it while I'm listening to it. It doesn't stay.
I feel you on that, because that was like me for a while. I was gonna say the replayability for it, for me, is like I have to really be in the mood to play it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then when you're listening to it, you're like, yeah, man, cool.
Yeah.
Why did I? Yeah. Why did I avoid this? But it's like, you know, normally how my brain sort of works is when I hear something that I like, I literally have to figure it out. Like, I have to be like, why do I like that? Is it the drums? Is it the bass? How do they intermingle with the guitar? How do they do it? Like, do you know what I mean? I have to figure it out. And I didn't get that sort of drive for any of the music. Like, while I'm away from it, I don't have it like, I've got to figure out how that's done. I'm like, no. I get it while I listen to it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It's just when I put it on, then I'll be in it. I'm not thinking about it outside of that.
Yeah, like when I'm listening to it, it's like, you know what I mean? It's a 7.5 out of 10. Like,
right, okay.
But it's like, away from it, if I'm not listening to it, like, I'm not going to remember it, like, at all.
Wow, okay.
It's bad.
Wow, that just hit me in the heart.
No, what? I didn't mean to hit you in the heart, but what I mean is, like, it moved me. Yeah, all I can say is,
I understand
listening to it, like, it's good. I can appreciate it as a body of work, but yeah, it doesn't. Sorry, mate.
For sure. 6.5. Wow, but that's okay. That's cool.
Yeah, listen, I told you I'm going to be harsh.
No, I get it. I'm not going to be petty. I'm not going to be petty and knock my big pun score down. I stand behind that. So don't worry.
You can't, because he's dynamic and he's amazing. So.
Okay.
All right, cool. So shall we do our swaps for next week? Do you want to go first, sir?
Yeah, so the album I'm giving you is in a similar vein. Like I was talking about the UK hip-hop scene.
Yeah.
There's like another side to it, which I think people don't all necessarily know too much about, I guess, or give as much attention to. So basically, this album is called, I always forget the name, it's called Nobody Cares Till Everybody Dies, something like that, by Kofi Stone. I think I'll be interested to hear what you think of that. And this is a recent kind of find of mine as well, but it hit me very much. So, you know, I'll be really interested. I've been trying to get other people to jump on it too, and to no avail just yet. So hopefully this will, you know, kickstart that too.
Nice.
Because I've been holding in my deep-seated resentment and anger towards all of them for not checking it out.
Listen, nobody can brew like an artist, man. I get that.
Tell me about it. It is what it is. But yeah, I really hope I didn't butcher the name of that album. I'm pretty sure it's not Nobody Cares Till, it's Nobody Cares Till Everybody Dies. For an album you think I'd love so much, you think I know the name? Nobody Cares Till Everybody Dies by Kofi Stone. That's it. Let's just like, drill it in.
I'm already in. That album title, I'm in. Like,
yeah, for sure. You see the cover, you'll probably be in too. But it's because I made the 2016 mistake in the last episode for Loyle debut. I'm trying to be on the ball.
So I must admit, like, anytime anybody says Loyle Carner, bro, it makes me. It just sounds like something Arnold Schwarzenegger would say.
Okay.
Loyle Carner. Like, do you know what I mean? Anyway, enough about that. Get to the chopper.
I'm just wondering what connects in your head.
Well, it's just like every time I'm hearing like Loyle Carner, I'm just like Sarah Connor. Anyway.
Okay, yeah. That makes more sense.
Sorry, bro. Sorry.
That's what I had to ask. Because I was trying to understand, how did you make that connection in your head?
Because why not? Anyway, let's moving swiftly on, bro. Honestly, my mind is stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, so the album I'm going to give to you is D'Angelo's first album, 1995, called Brown Sugar. It's an album that, I don't know, for me, I've got a lot of good memories to that album. Like a lot of family memories to that album, which are just which is just brilliant. And also it's a vibe as well. It was I think it was one of the at the time it was like one of the albums that kicked off like the neo soul movement. Like
that's what I heard. Yeah, I always hear D'Angelo's name brought up when it comes to that sort of thing. Yeah,
you need to understand, like, it had this vibe and this tone that I'd never really. I was quite young at the time, but I'd never heard anything quite like it. And it was just this kind of. It's like you were going to like when I say like underground club, like I genuinely mean like like under the arches of some kind of like train station, railway kind of thing, like underground, like jazz club where you'd see him play. That's how I've always like visualized him, just relatively unknown, but with this amazing sound. And that album, I hope you have a good time. I hope it's aged really well. I haven't listened to it in a long time.
What's the album called again?
Brown Sugar.
Brown Sugar. Okay. Does he have another album called Voodoo? Voodoo,
yeah.
Okay, I think that's the one I've heard.
Oh, okay. Voodoo's got. Is it unfinished on there? I think that's on there.
It might. Yeah, I think so.
Quite
I'm
possibly
pretty sure.
one of. Oh, it's just one of the greatest tunes ever.
D'Angelo's always held up. Is another guy I always hear. He's always on the list. Always on the list. One of the pioneers. One of the people to check out.
Yeah, he's really good. It's a real shame. Like I think he had quite a lot of drug problems and stuff.
Okay.
And that really messed him up early doors. I think that's the story. I'm just going off memory, but
sure.
Yeah. A genius.
He made a comeback, didn't he? He made a comeback.
He did.
In, like,
yeah.
The last couple of years.
I think it was D'Angelo in the Vanguard in like
2015 or something.
2014, something like that.
Yeah.
And I listened to that musical, like the musicality was really good. And like, you know, he can sing. He's just...
so he's one of those kind of artists. He just has it.
Yeah, man, for real. I hope you enjoy that album.
I'm looking forward to that. I really want to just sit and just vibe and listen to it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those albums where you might. In fact, you know what? No. Not going to put.
Yeah. Let's not. No spoiler alert. No spoilers. Sorry.
No spoilers. Wow.
Yeah.
This episode has been
hefty.
For real.
All right. So let's wrap this up before we basically move into episode 3 at this point. All right. So we hope everyone enjoyed. I'm trying to remember how you closed out the podcast last time.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. That's it. Yeah.
Thank
you. You give the props to the listeners. That's what it is.
Always.
Yes.
You just say to them, guys, if you made it this far,
God bless you.
God bless. Yeah,
that's what you said last time.
Yeah. And like, definitely, like, you know, Jah, Buddha, whatever, like, you know, whatever deity you pray to, or if you don't, like, don't worry about it, but like, you know, good vibes to you.
Yeah, just blessings regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, thank you very much for tuning in. We have been the KaeDee podcast. We will hopefully see you next time. And yeah, it's been a real pleasure.
And we hope you check out the albums that we talked about, or at least enjoyed hearing us talk about them. And if we're not lazy and we get these playlists up and running, and you can, you know, have a little listen through to our top 5s that we picked out. And so we hope you get something from it as well. But yeah, great. We hope you enjoyed. Peace.